Welcome to regular city council meeting, April 4th, 2023. We'll open the meeting with roll call.
Councilmember Brookover.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia. Councilmember Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregg.
Here.
Mayor Bacon.
Present.
Mayor Bacon, I move that Councilperson Garcia be excused tonight. He's undergoing some minor medical situations.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I move the approval of the agenda with the following amendments. That section 4.3 and item 4.7 be changed to the business portion of the meeting.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, approval of the minutes and closed session minutes, regular city council meeting, March 21st, 2023. For a motion?
I move approval of the minutes. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All written communication received by council are posted to the online agenda packet. Next up, communication from the audience. Seeing none. Anyone in the online?
We have two callers in the queue. Caller with the number ending in 954, you're welcome to address council.
Hello, this is Nicole Biber. Sorry not to be there in person on the glorious occasion of the No Mo May. I'd like to say it's a nice first step to see, and it's exciting that it's happening in various communities throughout the world and the country. I'd like to encourage everyone to just go ahead and participate. It's it's basically just not doing something, which is essentially just taking the month of May and letting the first few things bloom that might, such as clover. But also, really importantly, it doesn't disturb where the pollinators and caterpillars, whatnot, might have been overwintering and needing a little more time to emerge. So along with that, I'd like to point out in the ordinance, it does say that anything that's a cultivated garden or flowers is allowed. It's not susceptible to that suspended, 6-inch maximum height rule. So for those participating, I hope it's individuals, I hope it's churches, I hope it's businesses, maybe sort of try to look at things with a new eye and think about how you can take the next step for a best case scenario for bees and butterflies and whatnot, and consider planting native seeds, native species, and realizing, you save on petrol, you save a lot of the noise pollution, but also it gives some space for creatures that were here long before us, that we all very much depend on at a foundational level of the system that keeps us all alive, the life cycles. And I guess just sort of realize that just because something for a few decades has been the norm, putting poisons and fertilizers on grasses, just mowing them, having that noise all the time, it doesn't mean it's the only way to do things. It's certainly not the best way to do things. That we can just sort of even take a couple years of this and it doesn't take long before life starts returning, before our eye, the way we see things, maybe changes up a bit to what we understand is beautiful, what we understand is well cared for. And I can't think of much that would show better well cared for than for there to be a resurgence of these life forms that, sad to say, are all struggling. We've lost just in a very short span of time 50 to 80% of these pollinator populations. And I just want to add, they're part of the community as well. So when we see new developments and we see all these, concrete, this or that, maybe consider how can we sort of offset that and say, let's make more quality habitat. So as I say, this no mow may, it's a great thing. It's a good first step, but I really encourage people to sort of think about and be empowered and have the agency to even go beyond that measure and think about how you can include more quality habitat with native species of plants. So thanks. Next.
Thank you.
Caller with the name Maya Gregory, you're welcome to address council. Maya, you may need to unmute your phone.
Hi, I'm all set. I'm just here to listen. Sorry.
Okay, thank you for letting us know that.
Yep, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Next up, item 2.3, communications from council members. Councilperson Brookover,
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councilperson Watson,
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to mention on our East Lansing Police Oversight Commission, we have a couple of vacancies. And so if anyone is interested in working with our commission, we meet once a month, 6 to 9, and then there's subcommittees that sometimes people are a part of. But just looking for applications, and we are interviewing people as well. So this is for the East Lansing Police Oversight Commission, and you can always find any of our board vacancies on the City of East Lansing's website. The next thing I wanted to just uplift, and it's from the consent agenda. I smiled as I reviewed our consent agenda. Being a part of the City of East Lansing is also being a part of inclusion and belonging. And so I love the recognition of Ramadan. I love being an ally to our transgender community. And I love the recognition of neurodivergence. We typically don't exist in a binary way. We aren't one thing or the other. We are lots of things, and it gives me great pride to live in this city because we respect and honor and make space and learn and grow for everyone. So thank you.
thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just piggybacking what Dana said, it was kind of a pleasure to read our consent agenda and see so many things on there that I'm really happy to be a part of. I'm the proud mother of 3 transgender children. I have one still gender-conforming child who feels very left out when his siblings get all the attention, so I also have to recognize my middle child, but I'm really pleased to see that on our agenda tonight.
Thank you. And I have nothing today. City Manager's report.
Thank you. Good evening. I have a couple of things I'd like to announce. The Northern Tail Dog Park opens for the season on Monday, April 3rd, and the park will remain open to the public through November. We have counselors from Community Mental Health of Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham counties. They will continue to offer services through April at the library on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 12:30 to 5 p.m. These are free counseling sessions for anyone who needs them. We also are going to host Book Bites and Bids. It is back in person on Friday, April 28th, and it will be happening from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Want to acknowledge and welcome back Tim Dempsey. I can't recall if I mentioned that he was returning at our last meeting, but we are welcoming him back as our planning director, our director of planning, building, and development, and looking forward to many good things and many good works with him and the remainder of the staff as well. I'd like to also acknowledge that the Spartan Green and White game is scheduled to take place on Saturday, April 15th. And there's also the ISO 5K, so that'll be a very busy day in the city. And if you get an opportunity to participate in either of those events, we encourage it. I also want to echo the comments of Councilmember Watson and Greg regarding the resolutions that have to do with inclusion, and say it is certainly something that take great pride in this community, and appreciate that we have staff and council that recognize and acknowledge those things. And then I'd like to end with announcing that Nicole McPherson, our interim DPW director, and she's been in that capacity for some time, I think over 2 years or close to 2 years, and she has just done a phenomenal job. I think it's very difficult to come in and take on a job responsibility like that for as long as she has, and it went so seamlessly. It was, she did an excellent job, was always extremely professional, and I think the staff really appreciated having her, and we wish you the best in your new endeavors, but we'll miss you, and thank you for everything. I also want to we also are announcing this evening that Michael Fry has also decided to accept another position, and she's our communications administrator. And Michael also has just been phenomenal. Her publications and her work with regard to communication has been stellar, and it's been exceptional. And both Nicole and Michael will be missed dearly, but we also are very excited for them and happy for them in their new endeavors. So wish you both the best. And I think, I don't know if I had announced or mentioned that Ron Lacoste would be taking assuming the interim DPW director's role, and we look forward to working with Ron. He's been here 24 years, roughly 24 years, and also has been a outstanding worker and just a very solid employee, and I think he will do a phenomenal job. And Nicole has assured us that she's leaving her phone number and right around the corner, and so she'll be there to take any calls from Ron as needed. And then we will have Carrie Sampson, who will be assuming the position of the interim position for Michael Fry, and Carrie also does outstanding work and has been responsible for a number of publications and social media postings that have gone out. So we're looking forward to working with Carrie. Thank you all for stepping up and working in those assignments, and look forward to working with each and every one of you. And I think that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you. City Attorney's report.
All my items are on the agenda this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, item 3.1, opioids litigation update from Dave Mittleman, Grewal Law.
Good evening. I'm David Mittleman, and I have been part of the team representing the city in the opioids litigation since 2017. Back in November of 2021, this council approved the initial settlement with 3 national distributors and Janssen & Janssen to resolve claims against them, bringing into the city over a period of time $600,000, of which $115,000 has already come in because there's been an acceleration of payments by Janssen Company, which is part of J&J. They made 5 payments, and the 3 national distributors made 2 payments, and they're going to make another one before the end of the year. But I'm here this evening to talk about a new settlement with 4 additional defendants: Teva, Allergan, CVS, and Walmart. The total settlement is a little over half of what the last one was. Nationally, the first settlement was $26 billion. This one is a little over $14 billion. And in order to participate, we will need a resolution adopted, much like the last resolution, for the city to accept this settlement as we're recommending to the city, and authorizing, and only one person can respond and receive from the allocator the information that was sent by email, most likely to Kim Johnson on March 10th, with a DocuSign requirement to sign those 4 agreements with each of the new defendants that are settling. And then we'll need the authorization of somebody to sign the agreement between the state of Michigan and local government, East Lansing. I can tell you that the Michigan Attorney General has been working diligently with our groups, and as opposed to the default allocation of 15%, by agreeing to what the state of Michigan wants, the city will receive 50%, and that'll take us up to close to $1 million. I believe over the course of the next year or 2, there'll be additional funds coming by way of 2 defendants that are currently in bankruptcy, Purdue Pharma and Mallinckrodt, which I believe will bring to the total to $8 to $10 million, and there are a few other defendants that haven't ponied up yet. So I'm hopeful that we'll be somewhere between 1.2 million and 1.4 million by the time things are done over a period of time. The first round of settlers wanted a longer period of time. The current settlers are looking at over 13 years, over 7 years, 10 years, and 1 to 6 years. Does anyone have a question?
How much money are we getting?
How much money are you getting? You will be getting over time, the city of East Lansing, $343,370.35.
From the thing that we're voting on tonight?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
In addition to what
Prior.
was approved
Yeah, I
prior.
understand. Thank you, Dave.
Any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, sir.
And I did talk to your city attorney, and he will be able to prepare the appropriate documents. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mittleman.
It has to be done by April 18th.
Got it.
Noted.
Next up, the consent agenda, excluding item 4.3 and 4.7.
4.1, approve a resolution recognizing April as Autism Awareness Month. 4.2, approve a resolution acknowledging the Islamic holy month of Ramadan 2023. 4.4, approve a resolution recognizing March 31, 2023 as International Transgender Day of Visibility. 4.5, approve a street closure request for the East Lansing Art Festival for Albert Avenue from the Albert Avenue Garage to Bailey Street, MAC Avenue from the East Lansing Marriott entrance to the Grand River Avenue intersection, Grove Street from the south edge of the 7-Eleven entrance and the Bailey surface parking lot, and approve the use of amplified sound and regulation of art festival vendors from 5 a.m. on May 19, 2023 to 10 p.m. on May 21, 2023. 4.6, approve a resolution supporting an Ingham County Trails and Parks millage grant application for funds to extend the Northern Tier Trail from the East Lansing Soccer Complex to Coolidge Road. 4.8, approve a resolution establishing a public hearing on the preliminary fiscal year 2024 budget and property tax rate for May 9th, 2023. 4.9, approve a service agreement with CBIZ Benefits and Insurance Services, Inc., not to exceed $33,390 for the December 31, 2022 actuarial valuation under the GASB number 75, and authorize the city manager to sign. 4.10, approve a precious metal and/or gem dealer application for National Rarities LLC to hold a one-day event at the Hannah Community Center on April 10th, 2023. 4.11, approve a change order with Hubble, Roth & Clark Incorporated for additional engineering services associated with the fiscal year 2022 utility improvement project in an amount not to exceed $29,500 and authorize the city manager to sign. 4.12, introduce and refer to the Planning Commission Ordinance 1520, a request to rezone 135 Burcham Drive and 705, 715, 725, 743, 755, and 765 Grove Street from R2 Medium Density Single-Family Residential District to RM32 City Center Multiple Family Residential District. And 4.13, approve Friendship City Agreement between Sister Cities Commission in Michigan, USA, and Merida, Yucatan, Mexico. That concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. Look for a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Consent agenda carries. On to the business agenda. Item 5.1, first read of ordinance 1519, an ordinance to repeal East Lansing Ordinance, Chapter 6, Article 3, Section 6-175, subsection 1006.4. Is that from the city attorney? Is that where this comes from? Okay.
Yep, just one moment. Okay, yeah, so as everyone is aware, last week we did issue a moratorium on the enforcement of Ordinance 6-175 subsection 1006.4. This was related to the lawsuit, the matter of Hagen Realty Incorporated v. the City of East Lansing, which was filed in the Western District. As you'll recall, subsequent to the filing of the lawsuit, we did review the underlying ordinance, which was alleged to be unconstitutional. The ordinance required that the city actually required through the ordinance that landlords provide voter information and applications with leases for new tenants, and that was alleged to be a First Amendment violation by the plaintiff, who's a landowner in town. We subsequently worked a lot with all of the departments that are affected, including primarily the clerk's office, but also the housing department, and determined that this was appropriate when it was issued back in 2013, this ordinance, and it worked really well to increase voter outreach. Subsequently, a lot of things have changed, primarily internet access, and voter outreach through the internet. But additionally, there's such tremendous change in state law that allowed for increased voter outreach, same-day voting, and those have really changed how voting is done in the city, especially in a college city such as East Lansing. And so we made the determination collectively, I believe, that the repeal of this did not in any way impair voter access, which obviously would be a concern. And so the recommendation was made and agreed upon by the council to repeal the ordinance. So last week you issued the moratorium. This would be a first reading on the repeal. I did subsequently speak to plaintiff's counsel, and they have agreed to withdraw the lawsuit as soon as the second reading is over, and have not sought attorney's fees, damages, anything of that nature.
So is there action at this point, or that reading covers the?
So we typically don't take action on a first reading, correct? In that
We just
case,
pass laws, we don't repeal them.
what's that?
We're not good at repealing things. when we
Yes,
pass
first
them.
it's new for me. Yeah.
So, as a result, I would just ask that the first reading of the repeal be approved, just to make sure we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's.
Sure.
Well, do we read it?
I apologize.
Do we read it? Resolution? Isn't there a resolution?
There is a resolution that does. I'm sorry. Yes. But it's in the packet. It doesn't need to be read. It's in its entirety.
Okay. And you need a motion to,
I would just ask for a motion to approve the first reading of the repeal.
I move to approve the first reading of the resolution of the
Yes.
appeal.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 5.2, consideration of a resolution authorizing notice of intent to issue revenue bond to finance capital improvements at the Water Resource Recovery Facility and improvements to the sewer collection system in an amount not to exceed $364,000,000. Yes.
Council, before you tonight is kind of the first step in our state revolving fund bond process. So this would be for the fiscal year 23 projects that were listed in the 2020 project plan for the WRF and for the sewer collection system. This by no means obligates the city to be able to go for a bond for $36 million, but allows us the opportunity to apply for a bond for which the projects would need. The city council has, approved these for and we've gone through the same process for each of the past, 15, 17, 19, 21, 4 SRF loan projects that we have been doing. So I know this got pulled off of consent, so I'm here to answer any questions.
So this is just a continuation of a process we've been doing for several years here. And
Yeah.
this is fitting in another piece of the progress towards the improvements, correct?
Correct. This is a continuation of the projects that were set forth in the 2020 project plan. Again, it does not obligate us to, but it gives us the opportunity to apply for these.
And where are we, if you know, on the prior bonds? Have we gone out and gotten those bonds previously?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And we're like about halfway through the last one from the 2021. So project. We haven't completed that project. That's still under construction.
Okay, but under the most recent bond, we have enough money to pay for that part of the project, correct?
Yeah, and we're, to be really frank with you, we're looking through some of that right now. So we're looking at, obviously, it's budget time. We're looking at what we can afford moving forward. So, I mean, in all honesty, these may not go forward and we won't use this, but we want to have the opportunity to be able to apply for the bonds if that works out for us.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions?
No question. I just have an opportunity to say good luck and goodbye, and I hope the next phase of your career is more relaxing than your time in East Lansing.
It's not going to be, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Sewage is never really
It's raining out. You do know this, right?
I do. Your favorite.
My favorite,
Yeah.
yes. I still have PTSD.
Nicole and her board have taught me to I love sewage. and we'll all love it, and if nothing goes wrong. I move the resolution to purchase, acquire, and construct improvements to the sewage disposal system and to publish notice of intent to issue revenue bonds as set forth in our packet.
Second? Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, item 5.3, consideration of updated MML agreement for city manager search process.
Thank you again, Council. On this matter, you had requested that two changes be made to the agreement with MML. One was that in the event that the successful candidate vacated the position within 2 years of placement, they would not require repayment for the process other than direct advertising costs. And likewise, that if they brought us a candidate that was, they didn't bring us any candidates that were found to be appropriate, that they would do another search under those same conditions. And so I've brought back the agreement with those changes for your review.
Can you just tell us what pages those changes are on and read them to us, please?
Yes, I believe they're restated on page 12 of 23 in that agenda item. Just 21 of 23. And 23 of 23. Let me look.
Can you just read them to us? Please?
Yep, just one second.
Excuse me. This is Emily Kenny, Interim HR Director, and I've got it right here, so I thought I'd jump in and read it to you. It's on page 8, under the final phase, the last bullet point there that says note. So I don't know where it's at in your agenda packet, but once you get to the actual proposal, it says, in the unlikely event that the city is unsatisfied with the candidates presented, the league will work with the city to revisit the existing shortlist and/or full matrix of applicants and invite one or more of these candidates for an interview and/or re-advertise the position. In the unlikely event that an offer is withdrawn from the finalist withdraws from the search, or if negotiations fall through, the league will work with the city to determine what additional steps should be taken. There are generally a few different options available to address these situations, and your search facilitator will work with the city to determine the best options for your community. Under certain circumstances, however, additional fees may apply in the highly unlikely event that the incumbent voluntarily vacates the position within 2 years of placement, the league will offer another search with direct advertising costs being the only cost to the community.
Okay, well, that's not what I'm looking at. Mr. Chubb, what I'm looking at is page, I guess, 12 that I think you referred to, under our promise. Can you find that? I just want to make sure that that is the language that you negotiated with them.
It is restated in 12, on 21 and 23. It reads in 12, let's see, in the highly unlikely event that the incumbent.
I get that. I want to make sure Mr. Chubb is agreeing with us.
Okay. All right.
So what I see here, quote, "The league is committed to providing the best possible outcome and employment match for the community. Therefore, we strongly encourage the management professionals placed to comply with Tenet 4 of the ICMA Code of Ethics, which sets a term of employment with a local government. In the highly unlikely event that the incumbent voluntarily vacates the position within 2 years of placement, the league will offer another search with direct advertising costs being the only cost to the community." But I thought there were some other negotiations, and it may be, Emily, what you point out, but that page number, I can't find that page. I just thought that the changes we were making would ensure that if we didn't like who they came up with, whether they became employed here or not, they would do a search free except for the advertising costs.
Yeah, that's correct, and that is the section, like I said, it's kind of restated in a couple different places, but the section that Emily just read is the correct section. I'm just looking to find it. It is the note that is on.
So at 21, it states that in the unlikely event that the city is unsatisfied with the candidate presented, the league will work with the city to revisit the existing shortlist and/or full matrix of applicants and invite one or more of these candidates for an interview and/or re-advertise the position. And there's some additional language that follows there, and then there was a note or.
Yep, and that extended language is in 21 and 23, thank you.
Well, okay, what I'm concerned about is I had thought, Mr. Chubb, when you and I were talking about this, that what I just said, if for some reason we don't like the candidates they come up with, then they'll do another search without charging us an additional $19,000, except that we may have to pay for advertising. Wasn't that where you were headed on this? And I thought you had negotiated some language with them?
Yeah, that's correct. So this references that if we're unsatisfied with the candidates presented, the league will work with the city to revisit the shortlist and/or full matrix of applicants and invite one or more of these candidates for an interview and/or re-advertise the position. So that re-advertising goes back to just starting with a clean slate if we want to go that full route. But it just states the first step would look at those that have already been vetted through the second round, then through the first round, then we'd go back out.
Okay, and so are you satisfied with this language that
Yes.
we get a free second search other than the cost of advertising?
Yes, to the
Right.
extent that we aren't satisfied and/or the person leaves within 2 years, yes.
Thank you.
Questions? City Attorney, do we move approval of the new language at this point? Or is that?
Yes. Yep, of the agreement as amended.
I'll move approval of the agreement as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5.4, consideration of a resolution authorizing entry of a participation agreement in partial settlement of the national prescription opiate litigation and entry of state local government interstate agreement concerning allocation of settlement proceeds, and authorize the city manager to sign.
All right, so these are, this is the resolution that was referenced in the previous presentation by by Mr. Mittleman of the Grewal Law firm. The one clarification that's in 5.4 in the plain language, or in the language of the agenda item, is that we're authorizing the city manager to sign. In a brief conversation with him, it's currently set up that Chief Kim Johnson would sign, and so we either have to, we can make this change, and it will have to be made on administrative level through the class council, or else we would go forward with the resolution retaining that responsibility or authorization to sign with Chief Johnson.
I move approval of the resolution authorizing the entry of participation agreements and partial settlement of the national prescription opiate litigation and entry of state local government intrastate agreement concerning allocation of settlement proceeds dated April 4th, 2023.
Second. Discussion. Mayor Pro Tem.
The thought behind having Officer or Chief Johnson sign is because the settlement money is presumed to be used to offset the cost of treating overdose victims, or is it just that's?
I don't know what the original decision was made, but the bigger thing is it was just the administrative change of, because as it is set up now, all documents are sent electronically and they're only sent to one person. And
Okay.
so it would be.
So he was the person at one point, and so he is still the person?
He is
that,
still the
okay.
person currently, that's
Okay.
correct.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 5.5, formerly 4.3, approve policy resolution 2023-6, a resolution to support No Mo May initiative in the city of East Lansing.
Good evening, Mayor Bacon, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Watson, and Councilmember Brookover. Kathy DeChambeau, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Arts. I have Cliff Walls with me tonight, who is the Environmental Specialist for DPW. We're here to answer your questions. The reason we're both here is that this is a collaborative effort between the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission and the Commission on the Environment, and we worked on this project together. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
I'm the one that brought this off the agenda, so, and I apologize, but this doesn't apply to Michigan State University, correct?
Correct.
And they don't have a similar resolution that you guys are aware of?
They have put out some information about this initiative. I have come across some documents, I believe through their extension service.
Okay, but
as a university with their program,
okay, so they're going to be doing their mowing in May. Okay.
Very likely.
And then, how about the city of East Lansing? What are we doing?
the city of East Lansing.
Yes, ma'am.
We are intending to participate as much as we possibly can. So we're going to collaborate with DPW because they do the mowing services in our parks and in our city property, and we're going to look for all the opportunities there to be able to participate. Of course, we have soccer fields and we have softball fields and, you know, athletic fields that will not participate because they'll need to be mowed.
All right, that was one of my questions. And then finally, I have this vague recollection that we cannot enforce ordinances like this relative to the school district. Mr. Chubb, I'm sort of throwing you into the fray there. I have this vague recollection that's true. So what I'm just trying to figure out is the school district signing up for this somehow? Do you know?
Not to our knowledge currently. We would be happy to reach out to them, and if they want to participate as well. They're going to have some areas, just like some of our park areas, that would not necessarily participate, but they may have some areas that they would like to have participate in. And this is open to businesses as well, so.
So Patriarch Park is ours, and the high school still plays baseball there? No, they have their own field.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yep.
sorry. Yeah, right.
We do have baseball at Patriarch Park, though. We have other leagues. Yep, city leagues.
In May?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
we'll be mowing those fields.
Thank you. And this is totally voluntary. People can do it if they want to or not do it if they want to, correct?
This is so voluntary that people can choose to do any level of this that they'd like. If they want to do a low mow May, because that's what they're comfortable with, if they need to negotiate potentially with their partner as to their comfort levels with, only the backyard, only the front yard, only a square, all of it. This is completely negotiable within people's private properties.
Well, if I had a partner, that would be a heck of a negotiation, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was wondering, how
Yes.
are we going to let the community know that they can do this?
Do you want to take this question? I don't want to hog it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have prepared, it's in the agenda, a draft FAQ that we just put together, and then if this passes tonight or gets approved, we'll just immediately, we're ready to get that out in social media. We have the draft signage that people will be able to register. There's no reason to register, for the sake of the ordinance enforcement. Like if you don't register, there's no problem. It's mainly just so we can see how many numbers we're dealing with, then also provide people a sign that they can put in their yard. And I think that cross-pollination, so to speak, between neighbors is going to really help elevate this. If one person sees their neighbor having the sign, they're going to be like, what's that? And then the draft sign that we have there, there will be a QR code or a link that's not, we're waiting to see what happens tonight, but there will be those signs all throughout the town with information for people who want to learn more. But of course, working through the neighborhood associations, the social media networks, definitely going to get this out. And there's a lot of interest in this. Last year we had a lot of emails. I had a lot of emails this year as well. People saying, that I spoke with last year, and I said, hey, we don't have the policy resolution in place. It's the middle of May. We can't do this. They followed up, and I know that they're making their neighborhoods aware that this is a possibility. So I don't think there'll be too much trouble getting the word out.
I'm presuming eventually it'll just be like, everyone will have like your beard, like the no shaving period. It'll just be a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
November.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Perfect sense. I'm gonna move it.
Thank you.
Need to move this now?
Yeah, we do, now that it's
All
on the
right.
agenda.
I move approval of policy resolution 2023, resolution to support no mow
2023-6.
-6. A resolution to support a no mow May initiative in the city of East Lansing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, formally item 4.7, now item 5.6. Approval of a resolution for an application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Spark Grant to construct site improvement at the East Lansing Hannah Center.
Hello again. I do want to introduce a couple of our staff members who have been working on this grant application. I have Jim Jennings and Kathleen Miller here tonight from the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Division. Jim is our project and operations manager. Kathleen is our recreation and arts coordinator. Also, Julianne Jennings, who's our school age coordinator, has been working on this grant application as well. We are happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions?
I do have some questions. I'm looking at your concept plan, and I think I have three questions. So, as I'm reading it, it says add parking bay. Is that more parking?
So by redoing that parking lot, and redoing the landscaping, we are actually gaining, I believe, 6 parking spaces. because we are able to move into currently what is a berm that will be removed and re-landscaped.
Okay, so the pavement's going to take up more of the grass.
It's actually not a huge net gain, but it's a net gain of parking spaces because of the way it can be designed.
Okay, and then I see this playground, is that the current
Correct.
location?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this, I guess it's your pavilion?
Correct.
Okay, and I assume that'll be a new structure
Correct.
with cement underneath it,
Correct.
taking up grass?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have a few comments about just the discussion as it happened in the Parks Commission and a couple of the reasons that I'll be voting yes on this. One of the primary activities on that side at the Hannah Center is the soccer leagues that we have, and we have a considerable number of spectators that are left to put their lawn chairs up in the grass with no shade, and it is rather uncomfortable. Also for the players, don't have any shady place to take a break while they're playing. This will also offer us a chance to get water plumbed out there, right?
Correct.
So there will be bottle filling opportunities for the very many leagues that use that grass. It opens up another rentable pavilion within our parks amenities. We have several pavilions in our menu of possible things that are pretty much always completely reserved. So this is another one that has electricity and water and things that just make it very amenable. And it makes our summer recreation programs also have the opportunity to take care of this. It's essentially an outdoor classroom. So I think it's relatively small amount of pavement for a huge net gain in recreational value on that side of our community center.
I'll move approval of resolution.
Well, I do want to say something. I respect the three of you, you know that, and I think you've done a lot of good work on this. I do find it ironic that on the same council agenda, we're voting on a no mow May, and we're once again taking up grass in what I consider to be a central location in East Lansing. And with all due respect to everybody that's worked on this project in Valley Court, I think it's a long-term mistake to give up grass. I think people have been watching soccer games on that field for years. I think that field's been available for pickup soccer, pickup lacrosse. I see foreign students using it on the weekends. You can still actually play a softball game there. And I just don't think it's a good idea that we keep covering up grass, so I'm going to be voting against it. I appreciate all your work on this.
Councilmember, if I may, I just want to make sure we have clarity on where the location of the pavilion is. This pavilion will not take up any space that is currently used recreationally for soccer, for kickball, for softball, for any of those activities. This has been designed so it's at the edge of the walkway that is currently there, adjacent to the playground, and it is a berm that is not what I would call a playable berm. That's the location of the pavilion. So I just want to make sure that that's clear from the drawing, because I know that can sometimes be hard to tell, but there is no infringement on any of the playing fields or any of that there at all. This pavilion is also meant to be used for classroom space for our summer camps. And Kathleen can tell you it can be very difficult when we have summer camps. We're taking kids outside, but there really is no shade structure whatsoever out there. And so we pull tables against the building and we do all kinds of things to try to accommodate that. But this would allow us a much nicer environment for those activities as well as others. So, but I just wanted to make sure there was clarity that this does not impede any of the current activities in that green space.
I understand, and I'm not going to keep kicking a dead horse, because I know I'm going to lose this vote every time we have it. So, thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look for a motion.
If I can get it on my screen, I'll move approval. I gotta scroll back.
I can make a motion to approve the resolution for an application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Spark Grant to construct site improvements at the East Lansing Hannah Community Center.
Second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1. Meeting adjourned.